All right, welcome everyone. We're happy to have you here today. This webinar on driving meaningful organizational change, where and I'm happy to introduce you all to our speaker today, Seema. Seema Nagrath Menon is a talent development architect. She's an ATD expert master trainer, a specialist in DEI and emotional intelligence. She's a Marshall Goldsmith leadership coach and an international speaker based out of Dubai. As a certified professional in talent development, she's been working internationally in the fields of leadership development, learning strategy, and instructional design for over 23 years. And currently, she's the CEO of Calm Worldwide. Calm as in Center for Action and Learning Management. It's a professional and dynamic UAE-based management and learning consultancy. And she's using her cross-cultural international business exposure to add value and positively influence life of her clients. She's coached executives and leaders for peak performance and has worked in major companies in Europe, Asia, Middle East, and all over North America. And she's going to be our facilitator for today's webinar, as well as the facilitator for our upcoming change management program. And I'm happy to have her here. And over to you, Seema.
Okay, thank you, Jyoti, and welcome everyone. It is such a pleasure to meet you all, to see you here in the room. Thank you for taking out the time to attend this webinar. So thank you for that, and welcome. We're going to be talking about how we can drive meaningful organizational change, because I'm sure you know that change is the norm now, is the new norm in the changing business environment across the globe. Change is something which is happening in all organizations, whether it's a small or a big change, especially given the environment that we are in today. And we will discuss that a little bit in our webinar. So we're going to look at, how we can implement meaningful change, because change can be challenging, right? A lot of change initiatives don't work. So we try and understand why they don't work, and also look at how we need to have meaningful change by looking at the impact on both individuals and organizations as a whole in this whole change process. We will look at how to use strategies and what strategies really work, as well as a model that we can apply to make our change initiatives impactful and work in our organization. So that's our journey for today. So I know some of you already did, but good occasion to tell us where you're logging in from. I'm going to start with myself. I am logging in from Dubai. Why don't you all just go ahead and put that in the chat? Where are you logging in from? I did see earlier we are from Delhi and Gurgaon and Ahmedabad and Bangkok. Also nice. Welcome. Chennai, Mumbai, Bangalore, and Pune. I saw Paris too. And where else? Do share in chat. Chhattisgarh. Okay. Where else? Just curious, our audience is from which regions? Okay, so some of us did share when we logged in. So there you are. We have, people from different areas and different regions of India, plus international from Bangkok, Paris, and so on. So welcome, everyone. Thank you for taking out the time. What are we going to be talking about in this brief webinar? We're going to look at three objectives. We're going to look at how to explore the dynamics of workplace change based on what is the current research. We're going to investigate the organizational dynamics of change through what is called the systems theory. And we will also look at looking at the organization's change process through a model, an ATD model, which works and has proven to be impactful. So let's start by taking a step back. We're talking about change. And why is it so important? Why do we need to talk about change at all? We know change is there, but why especially now? What's different in our current reality, business reality? So as you know, we are in what is called the fourth industrial revolution. Now we had the agricultural revolution, that was the first one. We had the industrial revolution, which was the second one. And then we had the technology revolution, which was the third. And now the fourth industrial revolution is when the lines between humans and technology are blurring. So we are here, we are in a very exciting place, but a rapidly changing environment, which is also affecting work, affecting businesses, and how employees are expected to work and businesses are expected to thrive. There is a lot of change there. So I've got this nice little video, have a look, which talks about the future of work. Maybe a couple of years back, I'd say future. I think I'm not even sure if this is future anymore because we're already seeing this, but have a look. So you can see very clearly from that video that things like automation, robotics, artificial intelligence, all this is going to change the way we work, our expectations from our employees, and the way organizations do business. In fact, the World Economic Forum states that in 2025, and this is next year, we are in 2024, almost 50% of workforce will be machine. That's how rapidly things are changing across the globe. So what does that mean? What does this change mean? Automation, artificial intelligence, what does that mean for the future of jobs? Have a look at this video by McKinsey.
The times, they are changing. Powerful new forms of automation are fundamentally reshaping our world. Robotics, Computer algorithms and artificial intelligence are increasing productivity and improving lives. But what happens to our jobs? New research by the McKinsey Global Institute suggests that while enough new work can be generated for everyone, there are serious challenges in how we manage the transition. Between 3% and 14% of the global workforce may need to switch occupational categories or acquire new skills by 2030, depending on how quickly automation is adopted. It's a revolution that could be on par with the biggest shifts in employment in history, first out of agriculture and more recently out of manufacturing. But just as in those earlier revolutions, it's not just that some jobs are lost, but that even more jobs change. In emerging economies, middle-wage jobs such as office support workers and customer service staff could grow, while in advanced economies, middle-wage jobs may decline. In advanced economies, jobs like healthcare providers and technology professionals may be in demand, but these occupations will require more education, social skills, creativity, and high-level cognitive abilities. To ensure that displaced workers are re-employed quickly, leaders must act now. To ensure robust demand growth, innovation, and economic dynamism. To upgrade workforce skills, especially retraining mid-career workers. To improve labour mobility, and to modernise transition and income support. History shows that technological change can benefit us all by investing in the workforce and adapting policies, institutions, and business models to the new era. It also teaches us that when the times are a-changing, the time to act is now.
So that's what it says. The time to act now. All businesses, organizations globally have to be ready for the change today and the change coming up front in the future. So our World Economic Forum, the research stated clearly that 85 million jobs will be gone, as well as 97 million jobs will be created by 2025, which is next year. And many of these jobs require technical skills, digital skills, and so on. So reskilling and upskilling are very real for every organization to get its workforce ready. The research shows about 40% of current worker skills are expected to change in 5 years, and 50%, almost 50% of employees will need reskilling by 2025. So there is a lot of change happening and expectations from organizations and employees. In fact, a research by DDI showed, when they did a research on HR professionals and HR heads across various organizations, the number one thing they said, which is most important to focus on and will change most in the next 10 years, is the fact of how to get our workforce ready for this change, the upskilling, reskilling, and so on. And then given in this scenario, there's an expectation from the organizations, expectations on the ROI, return on investment, any reskilling, upskilling, any changes, any initiatives taken. They want to see 2 out of 3 employers want to see a return on investment within 1 year. So we are expected as members of this organization or whichever organization we are to make those change initiatives, and get our workforce ready, but we also have to prove the return on investment on all these solutions. So we have to create targeted solutions. We have to create solutions which have an impact, business impact on our organization, not just changes, but business impact, and prove the value of these initiatives that we have to get our organization ready for today and the future. So what's driving this change? Why is the work environment, businesses changing so rapidly? Of course, there are many reasons other than technology. It could be, a longevity of humans, the lifespan. It could be how we are globally connected, and of course, the rise of smart machines, and so on. Many factors are contributing to this changing environment. Number one, of course, as you would agree, is technology. Technology and the changes it's bringing, and it's how it's blurring the lines between humans and machine, is creating a lot of changes in every space of our life, including businesses and work. Another reason for changes, rapid changes, is the gig economy. If you know what that is, that's uh, uh, the generation now, or employees now overall, don't are not very keen on 9 to 5 jobs. They want to have the freedom to have a work-life balance. They want to have the freedom to be consultants, to be independent, to take ownership of their work environment and their life, especially after the pandemic. That's created changes, as well as the lifespan of people. People retire much later now. 50, 60 was the retirement age. Now people work 70 if they're healthy, even 80. It's because also of that gig economy that people work much longer, lifespans are much longer. In fact, today's sorry, min, never mind, have a 50% chance of living to more than 100 plus years. So lifespans are changing, and work-life balance also. The expectations of employees on that work-life balance has changed. Earlier, it was linear. We went from education to work to retirement. But today, we learn at any time. Uh, we learn at any time. It does not matter whether it has to be only in a certain space of our life. At any age, at any time, we learn. There is education, there is work plus leisure. We want that work-life balance. And that leads us to the fact that we want learning, or we want to be supported as employees, as people in an organization, anywhere, anytime, on any device. It's a different environment totally in the way people work, the way people learn, and the expectations from organization, from employees. Another reason for the change is the globally connected world. We are connected with each other. What happens in one area or one region of the world impacts businesses across the globe, as you've seen that over the past year or two, and of course beyond also. But more recently, a lot of changes across the globe have created changes in other regions across, not directly next to those regions, even far away. They've been impacted, their businesses have been impacted. So we are really connected now. The pandemic also proved how we are connected, right? Things are changing, and they're not the same as they were maybe 20 years back. And then, of course, our employees are overwhelmed. They don't have time for reskilling, upskilling, or learning. Deloitte did a research, and they found that a typical worker has only 1% of their week to devote to training, development, learning. So we have to factor in that also in our initiatives. COVID, of course, as we mentioned earlier, is a big reason for changes in every space, including the expectations of employees from their organizations. They want more well-being, they want more work-life balance, they want remote work, etc. So the conclusion really is that change is inevitable, right? It's part of what is happening around us. But whether we are ready for the change is another question. Are our organizations ready? Are we, as part of the organizations, ready? That's the important point. Growth is optional, but growth is essential. If organizations have to survive today and thrive today, they have to be more proactive in the change initiatives they take. They have to take it early rather than be more reactive in those change initiatives. So any organization, if they want to be ready for change, they can create a culture that embraces change by encouraging continuous learning and innovation in their organization. That's an important aspect to be ready for changes in this changing business environment. So I'm going to ask you to put into chat in your context. We've discussed so much and we looked at so many reasons there's change and how we need to be ready. Look at your organization and put it into chat. What learning you believe is vital now to support the future needs of your organization? Go ahead, share a word, a phrase, briefly, just what kind of learning do you believe? And every organization, as you would know, would have a different requirement, a different focus, a different change they need to put into place. So, what do you believe is vital to support the future needs? What type of learning? Resilience. Absolutely, Mansi. That's so important. And that's extremely important in today's environment, especially post-pandemic. Agree. What else? Please share and chat what you think. What learnings do you think would support the future needs of your organization? Yeah, so Jaydev, thank you. Middle managers need to change their ways of thinking and be very flexible to adopt the changes. True. Change initiatives, Jaydev, agree, have to come really from the top. They need support. Any change initiative has to be supported by the stakeholders, management, leaders. That's how change initiatives succeed. Learning agility, yeah, absolutely, Jawad. That's right. That's the way you keep ahead of the curve, right? When you're always learning and learning before anything comes up. I mean, you're taking proactive steps to learn and adapt, and then change your mindset and approach towards situations. Yes, absolutely. Again, Reem, that is absolutely correct in terms of how you're going to be dealing with this changing environment, being open to the changes and how you can deal with it, all that. So thank you. Thank you for sharing that in chat. There are many things that we need to put into place in our organizations for successful change and change initiatives. So now let's talk briefly cognitive diversity, Jawad. Yes, that's another one. Yeah, we have to be more inclusive and encourage that diversity. As well as I see top management has to create safe environment to experiment. Yes, it's important for any change to have an organization which is open and has what is called a growth mindset. They are willing to look at different aspects and grow, learning which more connected to their goals or projects, more drive, not a force. Focus should be on manager lead training, which will change mindset of the team. Absolutely. Learn to unlearn. That's right. That's nice. Absolutely. Learn to unlearn. Love that. Absolutely correct there. And it's not easy, right? Most people struggle with the learn to unlearn. Right. Thank you. So moving on then, change management. Let's talk a wee bit about that now that we have focused our attention on why we need to be ready. Why are we having any change management conversation at all? So I'm sure, and you tell me yes or no in chat. Maybe in your organization, your management stakeholders come and tell you, we need this change or we need that change without doing a deep dive into what's that vision, why we need that change, who's going to support that change, how are we going to guide that change, how are we going to maintain that change. Do you have your stakeholders and management come and say, we just want that change, roll it out? Say yes if you do, or say no if it's a planned effort. Say yes in chat. If you have managers, stakeholders, just come and say, we need change without planning. Or if your organization plans changes, or no, I see Sapna, you said no. That's great. That means your organization plans changes, which is how ideally it should be done. So the first step to address, having a change. That's great. I love to see. I mean, I'm happy to see that all of you have said that your changes are planned, and that's how it should be. Because the first step to address any change is recognize that something should be different, right? It's a preferred future that we have to go to. It could be that change could be initiated by your management or the top management in the organization. It could be externally driven, such as maybe industry regulation coming up, or it could be internally driven, where you have perhaps a high rate of retirement eligible personnel on the horizon. So there could be many reasons why change is necessary. It could be internal, external, but recognizing that need, making it a strategic imperative for change is important, so that we are ready for the change. So we need to know what we are getting ourselves into before it's too late. So planned effort is what we need for changes to succeed. So if we have to ask, what is change management? If we had to describe a change management, now that we know it's a planned effort, it is a structured approach. It is a structured approach to transition individuals, teams, and organizations from their current state to a future state. And it involves application of processes, tools, techniques, so that we can manage the people side of change and achieve those business outcomes and business goals which are required, and the business impact. So the goal of any change management really is to ensure that the changes are implemented smoothly, successfully, minimizing resistance and maximizing positive impact, engagement, and adoption of that change. So I want to ask you, which of the following you see there on the slide do you think is a common reason for the failure of change initiatives across the globe, across organizations? Is it clear vision and strategy? Is it strong leadership? Is it inadequate planning and execution? Is it employee involvement and support? Go ahead, put it into chat what you think. Write the number you think is the one, is the common reason for failure of change initiatives. Number 3 is inadequate planning and execution. I'm sorry, I read it as adequate, inadequate planning and execution. Right. So I see a lot of 4, I see 3, I see 2, I see 1, all of the above, by the way, 3, 3, 3, yeah. So all 4 are important, you're right. All 4, as I'm just going to be discussing in a brief moment, are important for the success of any change. But here, as we can see, if there's inadequate planning and execution, if there's not enough planning and execution, the change initiative will not succeed. You may have a clear vision, you may have strong leadership, you may have employee involvement, but if you don't have planning and execution, and it's a diffuse effort, it's not going to have its impact. Thank you for that. So these are the common reasons, as you see on the slide, why change initiatives fail. It could be lack of clear vision and goals. There's no clear, compelling vision or specific goals. So it's difficult for the employees to understand the purpose of the change or how it benefits them. It could be poor communication, which leads to misunderstandings and resistance and lack of buy-in from the employees. That could be a reason for a failure of any change initiative. It could be insufficient leadership sponsorship. As we had discussed earlier, we need strong leadership and active sponsorship from the top management for any change initiative to succeed. Maybe it doesn't exist. They don't have the support of the leadership. Maybe it is employee resistance. Maybe the employees are fearful of the unknown. The resistance could be fear of unknown, loss of job security, or belief that the change is unnecessary, so they're resisting. It could be inadequate planning and resources, the same as we just discussed. There's not a clear roadmap. There are not enough timelines and allocation of resources. It could also be because of lack of training and support and cultural misalignment. There's not enough support to the employees to get them trained in the new ways of working, and maybe the culture, the change does not align with the organizational culture and values. Also, short-term wins. I did see in chat somebody mentioned Kotter's model. Kotter talks clearly that one of his steps, the 8 steps, one of his steps is celebrate short wins. You need to keep your workforce motivated. So you need to celebrate short-term wins that can build that momentum, that enthusiasm, the motivation, and also showcase the change, which is and how positive benefits of that change. It could be underestimating the complexity. Change is complex. And why is it complex? Because humans are complex. When we talk about change, we talk about change and change resistance or impact to people. What is an organization? But it's people. So where is the resistance in the people? How is it complex? Because humans are complex. So underestimating that could also be a reason for failure. And last, of course, we have to continuously evaluate, adapt, monitor, change, any change initiative. We have to keep it going till it becomes part of the DNA of the organization. If one has a really successful change initiative, but then we don't ensure that it is part of the organization, becomes a new way of the organization's initiatives of employee behavior, it will fizzle out. So looking at these, just what you mentioned, as you see they are there on the slide. Look at your organization, reflect on your organization. Which of these 7 do you feel that there may be a struggle within your organization to implement any change? Reflect on the changes in your organization and write the number of the reasons why there could be a struggle with those initiatives. So I see 2, 5, and 7. Thank you, Reem. How about others? All right, a fair number of them, Jaydev. I see that, yeah. So your organization has a clear vision. I think no one's mentioned one yet, so that doesn't seem to be a reason. But insufficient leadership and sponsorship has been mentioned by all 3 people. That seems to be a common reason. In fact, everyone there on chat. 3 also seems to have a lot of, buy-in employee resistance also, as well as 4, inadequate planning and resources again. Yeah, absolutely. Right. So it could be any one of the reasons, depends on the initiative, but these are the common reasons why initiatives fail. So thank you for that. And then now that we understand why they fail, let's think about how can we make a successful initiative? What can we put into place? How can we have an impactful change, which is strategic and holistic in its approach? The first thing is, of course, as we just discussed, is to have that clear vision and strategy. Why is that change required? What is the desired outcome of the change? What are the objectives, the key milestones, the metrics of success, a strategy in place? Important for a good change initiative. Another aspect we should consider when we are implementing change is engaging and involving the stakeholders. You need leadership commitment. Top management should be visibly committed. And we also should have employee involvement. We have to engage employees at all levels. early in this whole process. And we can do that by communication. Very important, as you'll agree. The transparency with which we communicate, how we communicate the change, the benefits, the challenges openly and honestly, how we consistently communicate, provide regular updates, how we use multiple channels to reach our people. So they are part of that whole change initiative. They know, and there aren't many surprises. Providing training and support is another important reason. You may have a change, but if you don't support your employees with good training programs, with those necessary knowledge and skills, giving them new resources such as guides, tools, etc., to implement the work, they will be lost, and it will create frustration and disappointment in the people, in the employees, as well as creating creating a sense of urgency. That's another aspect we should consider if we want a successful change initiative. Talking about why we need the change, what will happen if we do not make the change, what could be the impact if the change is not done, what could be the immediate actions that we need to perform for the change. We need to clearly communicate that, as well as empower and enable action, remove barriers, identify what's coming in the way, and ensuring that it doesn't create a barrier, and empowering employees to take ownership for the change initiative. We need to put that into place so people feel part of that initiative, as well as generate and celebrate short-term wins. We did say this was a place where initiatives can fail, and you'd be surprised. It's a very small thing, but extremely important to keep the workforce and the employees motivated. Talking about the short-term goals, short-term wins, celebrating and recognizing achievements, all that is important for that motivation. Sustaining and anchoring the change. As I did mention earlier, you may have a great change initiative, but if you don't have a plan for continuous improvement, seeing what's working, continuous ongoing evaluation, feedback to see what's working, what needs to change, then that could also put a stop to that whole initiative, as well as cultural integration. You need to embed that change into the organization culture, values, and practices so that, it becomes part of the new norm in the organization. And of course, monitoring performance metrics, using predefined metrics, KPIs, adjusting, adapting to the feedback is important. And lastly, but not the least, is leadership involvement, creating perhaps some change leaders who can champion the change, demonstrate the change. Leadership should be an example. They should model the behaviors and attitudes that are expected from the employees. They should be role models for that change. So there could be many more, but these are the top things that we could keep in our mind when we are rolling out any change initiative to ensure that it is a success and it is maintained as a success. And here I'd like to also talk about briefly, for talking about success of change initiatives, is what is called systems thinking. Systems thinking basically says that what happens in one part of the organization affects another part of the organization, because organizations are a full unit. All the different departments and sections of an organization are always interacting. And so you make a change one place, is going to impact other areas in the organization. I think our global world today is a demonstration of that. There is a change in one part of the world, and the whole world gets affected in some manner or the other. So an organization is the same. It is a ripple effect. A good metaphor is a ripple effect, where you have a change and it has impact all over the organization. So that's another thing organizations don't consider. They make a change in one place, but forget to look at its impact on the rest of the organization, which is extremely important, again, to ensure that change initiative is successful. So this really leads us to a great program brought to you by ATD, Association for Talent Development, which is almost an 80-year-old organization based in the US. It's a global organization, and it provides a lot of different certifications and certificate programs. And one of them is the Change Management Certificate Program. So this program really covers everything I just said. It talks about exploring the dynamics of change. It talks about how we can use systems thinking. It runs through a full model you can use to manage change. How do you create a change management team? How do you get stakeholder buy-in? How do you make a strategic plan, implement that change? How do you monitor the change? How do you evaluate the change? And how do you sustain it? All with a model. So the full content of this change management certificate program comes from the model you see there. That's the model which ATD has proposed, and it's a research-based model, which talks about what a professional in talent development should know to be successful. The certifications of ATD are based on this model. So as you see, in this model, change management. Change management is one area where we, the content, everything in this program, the certificate program, the content is from here, and it is research-based. It's not just content, but research-based content. So I'm going to ask you one more question, perhaps the last question for the day. Do you use any models for your change initiatives? Put a yes if you do, and a no if you don't. Do you use any models for your change initiatives? Okay, so we got no there, and got another no. How about others? No. Okay, so a lot of you say no. And a model really helps because it gives structure, it gives flow, and you know where you're going. There are many models out there, Cotter's model, Lewin's change management model, and so on. But this ATD model is very similar to others, but is unique in the sense it gives very structured steps on what needs to be done in every phase of that change initiative, starting with challenging the current state, understanding why we need a change. How do we harmonize the team and align the leadership? How do we build a team as a change initiative, to look after the change initiative? How do we activate commitment from our stakeholders, leaders, employees? How do we formalize that design for that change? What do we put into place for that? How do we implement it, as well as evaluate and sustain that change? So it's not only the change and the success of the change, but are we evaluating and sustaining it over a period of time till it becomes a DNA of the organization? So we look at all these steps in great detail. There are lots of tools and templates. There's a case study running through the program, which helps not only in understanding the knowledge and skills, but how do you apply it? How do you apply it in real life? So the case study helps with that. There's also a organizational readiness audit. Is a checklist, a questionnaire which you can use in your organization to see, is your organization ready for the change? Or what else you need to put into place? So you start that change journey informed of what needs to go into place and what needs to be there for the change to succeed, so you can prove its business impact. And as I said, there are lots of tools and templates. The beauty or the great thing about ATD programs is that you leave the workshop, you leave the program with a whole lot of tools and templates that you can use immediately back at work. It's not just the knowledge and skills, but where are the tools and templates that I can use when I go back So there are a number of them available also with this program. So there is a program on September 25th and 26th next month. It's a face-to-face. It's in Bangalore and the change management. I'm facilitating it and I'm hoping I'll see you there. I'd love to see you there. So it is a face-to-face in Bangalore, and there are a lot of good reviews on this program. A couple of them is, as you see on the slide, that the Change Management program did an excellent job of giving me a deeper understanding of the skills and expanding my knowledge by introducing me to new concepts and strategies relevant to the modern work dynamics. Another is to do with this program addresses the need for structured, proactive change initiatives instead of being reactive. And that is so important, as we discussed earlier. It's great learnings from this training, and I would highly recommend organizations to go through the program. So a lot of good and great stuff around this program. And the added bonus, there's a 10% off if you register before August 22nd. You need to use that code, and you need to, Jyoti, would you like to take it over and talk about this?
Sure, Seema, thank you. Yes,
Yeah.
and we'd also, for those of you who are attending the webinar, we will send you an email shortly with the special discount code that you can use. And if you sign up, the discount code is valid till August 22nd. So do sign up before that and make the best use of this opportunity.